everyone, and thanks for a really interesting presentation. I was wondering, Sherman, if you have had, particularly given kind of the timeline of the development of the game, any opportunities to run virtual or digital versions? Do you have digital versions of the cards? And what differences have you noticed between the in-person gameplay versus a kind of online version?
Yes. Yeah, we've actually like tested and played a lot of games during the pandemic, right? So everything was virtual back then, and that's why we've also been able to play more than 100 games during the pandemic, right? Yeah, different teams, different people, different clients, and different communities. So we have that via Miro, but then we also have the physical card game. Right now, the difference between a physical card game, of course, we know this, even in Futures in Foresight, that the digital, the virtual, is not really a good substitute to the in-person conversation. Yeah, it's not really like, but of course, due to some constraints, you don't have any other ways by which that's the only option that you have. So it works. It takes longer to actually play the game when you're doing it virtually because it's a one-to-one thing, right? Like people cannot have a conversation like 3 or 4 people actually talking at the same time. Like in-person event, that's possible, right? Like you have 2 or 3 people having a conversation, a debate. But in virtual, something like this, that's just that isn't just possible. So the format of the game can be changed. You can actually be creative and smart about it. But then it's really like the conversation that you put it in, the prompt questions that you do when you facilitate the conversation online, right? Just picking up from the ideas and then insight and growing that and questioning it as well, right? And then when they have this aha moment, they continue to like pounce on it, unpack it further, and then think of it if it was a strategy or innovation or activity, event, whatever that might be, that they can use, build on using the scenarios that they have. So, but then if it's in person, it's really a marketplace of ideas. If it's in person, it's if they're noisy, it's like some sort of a marketplace or a stock exchange type of environment. I think that's success. You don't even need to interfere because But what I remind them is that you have to put this in writing, right? Like let's write them out because you never know if they're able to come up with a good idea, and then they start to wonder if there's something that they can actually do. And more often than not is that when they use their context, Sherman, this is really something that we can do and build next year. Like, for example, setting up a well-being excellence center or a peace co-op. This is something that, you don't really need to wait for 20, 50 or 30 years from now, because peace co-op is something that you can actually build and invest on in the next 3 to 5 years, right? Imagine that everybody investing on war, why not invest on peace? Right, and then start asking questions like, how much have we invested when it comes to peace? Right? Can we get the figures of how much money we have actually invested all over around the world when it comes to peace promotion or peace types of projects? And some bankers are now asking, like an insurance company, what would it look like if it's a product or a service that we can provide? I'm sorry about this. This is my daughter. Yep. So, yep. Yep. So yeah, it's really about our having conversation. In the end, it's not really about the game itself. So the game is just some sort of a prompt to facilitate a conversation that enables you to think about the unthought-of future. Right? And then I realized, is it really about the tools and the methods? My realization was that it is actually not. Right? The tools and the methods are prompts. It helps you order the conversation. But then if the conversation gets wider and deeper and more expansive, it's really about the people thinking about the future. So it's a tool, really. The methods are just tools, right? They are not the antidote, right? Like to the worst or the future that we don't want to occur. So it's a process. I see the tools and the methods as processes. They are tools like AI, right? I'm sorry.